Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Tell Me About Your Jesus podcast. I'm Brian, and I'm here with Shane, and we're just two ordinary people talking about our extraordinary God. We hope what you hear today helps you see how God moves in our lives.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us again on this episode of Tell Me About Your Jesus podcast. We have yet another first. We have Derek and Jeana are joining us. And Brian is with them in Huntsville, and I'm down here at home calling in. So, Brian?
Yep, so I guess if we sound a little different, that's why. But we wanted to take the opportunity. We've been trying to plan this for a couple of weeks or months now, I guess, just about a chance to get together. And Derek and Jeana, we met you guys, or Amanda and I met you guys in college, right? Y'all were also going to the University of Alabama. Derek, I think you were you Shelton, going to Shelton at the time, or university?
Yeah, I think I was at Shelton at the time.
It doesn't matter. It's all one big school system, right?
That's right. 34 years ago now, right?
Man, that makes me feel incredibly old. Thank you.
Back when you had hair.
I had a glorious head of hair. It seems like there's a bald joke in every single one of these that we do.
Sorry.
We're still waiting on pictures of the ponytail, by the way.
Those are very few and far between.
Yeah, that's classified, Shane.
Yep. But anyways, so we met each other, and I think we were all involved in the same church, and the same college and career group. So, it was really cool. I think in one way or another, we were involved when you guys got married, when we got married. We, have lived in different cities for a while, but at least from a distance, we've kind of seen each other's kids grow up, move on, and kind of have their own lives. So it's neat to always just be able to reconnect with you guys. It's cool when you get to see people you haven't seen in a while, and you just kind of pick up wherever you left off.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But one of the things that we've kind of started doing, just kind of introduce people into our listening group, is just a couple of just icebreaker questions, if you would. And these are kind of meant to be spur of the moment, whatever comes to the top of your head. So, Shane, did you want to lead off with one?
Yeah, I think I was going to start with what's y'all's favorite Easter candy?
Oh, well, that's easy. That's that Reese's Easter egg thing that's like a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Oh, yeah, the Reese's eggs.
You just get more of it, so why not?
Definitely a Cadbury caramel egg for me.
Really?
Yes.
Not the traditional,
No.
the white?
I want caramel. Cadbury.
So,
Got some in the refrigerator.
a funny story when we were in Texas.
Yeah.
Oh,
We got these things called chicks, ducks, and bunnies, and all they were sweet tarts. And so we would...
My Jeana loves those, by the way.
Yeah, so we were literally driving down the road, and Jeana had the last one.
And we were thousands of miles away from
She
our
had
families.
the last one, and she was about to eat it, and I picked it up and threw it out the window.
It was not very good for our first year of marriage.
I was going to ask, and y'all stayed married after that?
Thousands
we
of
did.
miles from our
We stayed
family.
married after that.
Wow.
She thought it was funny in the aftermath, but
Yeah.
But not...
It's a funny story now.
I see. I don't see a big smile on your face telling the story now. I think there's still a little holding on to that. How long have you guys been married this year?
31.
this year will be 31 years.
Wow. Congratulations. That is fantastic.
It's a God thing.
Yeah.
That's a God thing. There's no doubt.
Absolutely. I'll pull on that thread here in a minute. What makes you say that?
Sure.
But
Sure.
before I do that, Shane, what's your favorite candy?
I'm going to have to go with the Reese's eggs. They're pretty
There you
good. I've never had the Cadbury eggs, so I don't know.
So I used to be a big Cadbury egg fan too. But over the past few years, I've just gotten kind of burned out on them. So my favorite Easter candy right now, this is going to sound stupid. You can buy the little carrot-shaped bags of nothing but Reese's Pieces in them. That's my go-to.
Nice.
It's
Nice. I saw those today.
like a fake carrot.
It's great.
I'll take those. All right.
You could pretend you're eating your vegetables.
Well, that's a good point. At least I can pretend. We'll call it a somewhat healthy snack.
Yes.
All right. So
It's got peanut butter. It's protein.
there you go. There you go.
That's a far
You're
stretch,
sounding a
but
lot
sure.
like Bubba.
Yeah.
So here's my my icebreaker question to you guys. What do you say to someone? Jeana, I'm asking you this question specifically. If someone says to you, "You ordered a Dr. Pepper, but we're out of Dr. Pepper, but we have Mr. Pibb. It's just the same thing." What do you say to them?
You know, Brian, the truth is, I'll take the Mr. Pibb.
What?
Yes. As long as it's Rosie's Ice or Sonic Ice or Zaxby's Ice. There's something about a Mr. Pibb over that kind of ice that is legit.
Wow. So I've known you for over 30 years now, and that is not the answer I expected.
I know.
thought you were going to
nobody
say.
thinks that I would ever say that, and there's something about it. Now, not everywhere,
So
but
if it's
I'll
the
take
big
it. Yep.
chip ice, it's a different story. Will
Yeah,
you send it
yeah.
back and say not doing it?
I'll just take a sweet tea and a drop of lemonade.
Okay. Oh, drop a lemonade.
That's it.
So Derek, same question to you, but somebody hands you sweet, unsweet tea instead
Oh,
of sweet tea.
Pouring that out. Pouring that out, man. You know, that's why God gave us sugar, to have sweet tea.
Okay.
I mean, it's just how it is.
All right. All right. Shane, same question to you. Someone hands you a Mellow Yellow instead of a Mountain Dew, and they say it's the same thing. What do you do?
It is definitely not the same thing, but I will begrudgingly drink it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm the same way, but if someone hands me a Coke Zero instead of a Diet Coke,
Oh,
can't do it.
No.
It's
yeah, it's terrible.
people have tried to say it's the same thing, but it is.
No,
It is
no.
definitely
I
not.
will say a Mellow Yellow and a Mountain Dew are totally different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And don't give me a Dr. Thunder. That's really bad. That's terrible.
So I don't know if I told you, I actually got to go to the Dr. Pepper headquarters once, and they had like a wall of all the different varieties of Dr. Peppers, and all the Dr. Peppers there were free. And they had experimental flavors, so like the blueberry Dr. Pepper you see now.
Don't be changing nothing.
No?
Just straight up. And don't give me Dr. Pepper licorice or Dr. Pepper popsicle or Dr. Pepper cake.
So no to the Dr. Pepper Whataburger
no,
shake.
no,
Okay.
nothing like that.
Okay. See, I thought you were a Dr. Pepper purist, but more so on the you don't want the funky offshoots
Yeah.
or whatever it is
Yeah.
of that. So
But Brian, I haven't had a Dr. Pepper since February 13th of 2020.
why is
Wow.
that? Well, so let me bring this sore subject up to you, I guess. Sorry.
I'm waiting for the Lord to do something, and it's my way of fasting. And so it may happen on this earth, and it may not. So
Okay.
I drink Coke and I drink Mountain Dew, so my family says, "You're not really fasting," but I am, because I yearn for the burn. I yearn for the burn and the flavors of that Dr. Pepper.
Yearn for
And
the burn.
she
I do.
has
I really do.
she has held to that. She
I
has
have-
not had one
I have not.
in 5 years.
Each day passes, and I think about it every day.
All right. So I will edit this. Are you okay sharing why, or do you want to just kind of?
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Okay,
I don't even
that's
know.
fine.
I
And
don't.
that's
Yeah. No.
perfectly, and I can take out the whole question too.
Yeah,
I'll
no.
just skip the whole thing. So I just, like I said,
Yeah.
sorry for bringing this up.
Well, no, I won't tell you the reason
job,
why.
Brian.
But, no, I won't tell you the reason why. But and you don't have to edit this, but I needed God to move, and I thought about what do they do in the Bible when they absolutely need God to move, and they fast for 3 days. So I thought, well, I'm asking somebody to give up something they love. So am I willing to do that? And I thought, what do I crave? What do I love? What is my fix? Whether I'm happy, sad, whatever. Dr. Pepper, I said, I'll do it. Well, 3 days came and went. And in the Bible, usually the Lord answered in 3 days, but now we're at year 5, and here we are.
Past. Wow. Okay.
So, and so, the Lord doesn't care about my Dr. Pepper. I mean, but now it's the principle of the matter. I'm just
I
not,
think-
because I feel like if I drink it, I'm giving up, and I'm not going to give up.
I think he will acknowledge the commitment. and the fact that you held to what you said you were going to do.
No, well, maybe.
So even if it's something
As silly as Dr.
Simple
Pepper,
as
but
not
it's
very
meaningful to me.
Look, I'm about to say I'm not one to say what's meaningful and what's trivial
Yeah.
and what's not.
Yeah.
It's everybody's individual stance before God. And like I said, now I feel really bad about bringing it up.
No, it's
Well, but it's one day, and to your point, whether it's answered here or if it's answered in eternity, that's a sacrifice, and I see no theological reason why God doesn't honor that.
yeah.
Right?
Well, it's Dr. Pepper, but at the same time, he cares for everything. He cares about everything. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Derek, I'm going to go back to something you said. You said that it was really a God thing about how you guys have been married for so long. Mm-hmm. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about how you guys met and how you have kind of weathered the 30-something years together?
Well, so we met at a bowling alley. I was working there, and Jeana came in with a good friend of hers who bowled, Laurie, and so she comes in, and I think Laurie told a friend of mine at the bowling alley that she thought I was cute, and that was all it took.
Okay.
So, so then I was in.
And I never said that.
Well, she doesn't want to admit that she said it. So yeah, I mean, so that was 35 years ago,
Yeah, I guess.
and it's.
And you guys have lived
34 years
in
ago,
different
yeah.
states. You've been together through a lot of different phases of life. We're all kind of in the same phase of life right now where our kids are kind of on their own, doing their own thing.
That's right.
Empty nesters.
And God has been good to us. God has blessed us. When they say opposites attract, absolutely for us, we are two total opposites. She is the outgoing gotta be around people, and I'm the guy that's the introvert that says, if I need you, I'll contact you. Give me the details and leave. That's who I am, and so it's interesting to just look at that and see how God does put two total polar opposites together, and 30 almost 31 years later, here we are, and there's not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful for her. So,
and just like you guys, we've been through financial struggles. We've been through raising kids. We've been through the passing away of our parents, and just being empty nesters. And through all of that, we maintained our friendship and dating. And I think that we did well when we became empty nesters because we enjoy spending time together and going out to eat. That's what we have in common, is going out to eat.
Well, and another thing that we learned very early on is from Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages book, to learn to speak the other person's love language. We actually taught that at Fall Festival of Marriage. And yeah, we did. We taught that class, and I remember the first time we were at Shaco Springs, the very first event where we were teachers, and we go in there, and we literally looked at each other and said, "What if nobody comes to our class?" And the next few minutes, people are coming, and people were sitting in the floor. People were lined up against the back of the wall. And we're two country bumpkins that come in there, just literally on a wing and a prayer to God, saying, "Lord, don't let us mess this up." And man, people kept coming, and
yeah, it was like 100 people in there.
It was like
we finally started the class.
It was
crazy.
Yeah, it was over 100 people in a room that should have held 60.
And how long have y'all been married at this point?
Oh, like 10 years, maybe.
Maybe that long.
It was crazy.
Was it all newlyweds coming into happy y'all's class, or was it?
It was marriages of all lengths of time. I mean, I look back at that and I'm like, that just seems like another life that we lived.
But God, because we were willing to step up and do that, I do believe that some of the things we shared, where he literally gave us the words to say.
Yeah, 'cause we didn't know nothing.
We didn't know nothing, man. And it's kind of like, when Moses stands, is arguing with God, you need to find somebody else, and he says, I will tell you what to say, and now we didn't argue with God, and we were willing to go, but he definitely gave us the words to say, because we were effective. We got a lot of positive comments from teaching, and we enjoyed it too. We learned as much as I think, that they hopefully learned from us. But it was a great time.
Wow. Well, it's obvious, just walking into your home and just sitting with y'all at dinner tonight. Obviously, you guys are a couple that truly put God first in your life. Derek, I remember many years ago, you had invited me to like a men's retreat. I think it was at Shaco again, right? That we were at, or somewhere out there, and we were talking just one off, and you made a comment to me that resonated, right? You had said, I've really come to the point in my life, he said, where I'm going to serve the Lord, and you made the exact comment that I may not be a pastor, I may not be a missionary, or I may not be doing this or this. He said, but you said, but I'm going to serve God. That's what I've been put on here on the earth to do. And that struck a chord with me. I didn't tell you then, I'll tell you now, because I think it demonstrates exactly what I think we're trying to talk about here today. Everybody in their life, whatever role they're placed in, God has a purpose for that person, and for that person to interact in a lot of other people's lives. And that meant a lot to me, and I've really seen you live it out through the years, right?
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you saying that.
Sure.
And I guess the thing I would say there is, we can do it God's way, we can do it the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. Mm-hmm. The hard way being the way Jonah took. God's will still got done.
True.
I'd rather not do it the Jonah way. So we try. We're all going to fail, but we try to get it right more often than not. Mm-hmm. And if our faith is in the Lord, and if our intent is pure, He will see us to completion. I mean, He will. Despite our human abilities to mess things up, mm-hmm. One of the things that I jokingly say is, when God has a plan for your life, speaking for me specifically, he already factored in my stupidity into this equation, and he factored that in, and he works around that so that we still get to accomplish whatever he has planned, mm-hmm. And if we do get to be a part of something big like that, you may not see that, you may not see the fruit of that in this lifetime, but maybe in heaven one day we will, theoretically get approached by somebody who says, hey, I'm here because of something you did. You never know.
Yep. That's very true.
So on that thought about God using people in different ways and different things that come up in our normal everyday life, one of the reasons, Jeana, I think I had texted you and Derek directly after reading something that you had put on Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. And I know, I think I can say confidently that, knowing your heart, you put that out there because you thought this is a way that God intervened in our lives.
Absolutely.
And I've heard stories kind of like it, right? But never from someone that's been up in it like that. So that's when I had texted you and said, hey, this is great. We were starting to do the podcast thing. Would you mind sharing it? And you and Derek were both very, eager, open to doing it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to kick that over to you or to Derek, whichever you guys want to lead that or kind of walk through it.
Well, we were living in Fort Worth, Texas, going to seminary, and we literally had no money, mm-hmm. very little money. I won't say no money, but we had very little money. And
we were absolutely in a paycheck to paycheck, scraping by situation at that time.
No room for error, basically. And messed up in the checkbook, and instead of subtracting and taking away a 1 or something like that, we gave ourselves $100 more than what we really had. And when we realized it, we were like, what in the world are we going to do? And, we met in a bowling alley in Tuscaloosa, and we bowled literally all the time. And so there were these nights where you could win Susan B. Anthony coins or something.
I think I remember those
Yes.
from back in the day.
And Derek had them all in a jar, and we poured out the jar in the floor, and we were like counting coins to get $100. And I mean, we ended up having $100 in coins of Susan B. Anthony's or something, and we took them to the bank. And then we checked our mail that very week. I mean, it wasn't long at all. I mean, it was right at that very week. And, and I'm sure that during that time while we were counting coins or whatever, let me just go back to that, we cried and prayed, and how are we going to make it? And good grief, this is hard, and but we knew God had us out there, and we knew that God was going to provide for us. And that very week, I went to the mailbox, and we got a card in the mail, and that's what I posted on Facebook, because we just recently moved, and I found that card because I've kept it all these years. Went to the mailbox, got a card in the mail, and I opened it up, and it was from some people that we knew us, but didn't think they liked us at all. They were like, never smiled, always grumpy. There was a $100 check in it, and the handwritten note said, "We've been praying for y'all, and the Lord led us to send you this check to help." Or, I don't remember what it said, but just the Lord led us to send you this check in case you need it or something like that.
Wow.
Yep.
And we were very young at the time, and we had seen God work in our lives, obviously. I mean, we had known the Lord for many years, and we were at seminary, so, I mean, we knew the Lord, but it's moments like that the Lord becomes so real and relational. And I would say for us as a couple, that was probably the first provider time that God just really showed us
I agree. And
that He's real.
Honestly, that for me, that was a jaw-dropping moment. I know my jaw dropped because I mean, it less than 24 hours ago, before we opened that check, we were in the hole $100. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're like digging in the ashtray of the car, trying to find money to pay the bank back so we don't overdraft.
Right.
And I'll never forget it. I think even if I get Alzheimer's later on in life, I don't think I'm going to forget that. Right. God forbid that happen, but I don't think I'm going to ever forget that. And I guess the thing that, number one, God showed us right there, I will provide for you. But another thing that happened there, and as I've thought about, having this recording with you, I've thought about what it took for that couple to write that check. Number one, God had to nudge them in that direction. But number two, they had to be willing. Mm-hmm. They had to, they sent us $100. And in 1995, $100 was a lot of money. Yep. Yeah. And it's yes, it answered our prayer, but it only answered our prayer because they were willing to be obedient to God when He said, "I want you to do this." And so it's yes, it was an answered prayer for us, an immediate answer to prayer, but it was also a life lesson, I think, for both of us that, when God nudges you in a direction to help somebody financially, and if when that it's God, mm-hmm. when that gut feeling just tells you need to do this, step up and do it, because you're just the person that God's working through. But that old saying, it's better to give than to receive, that's true, man, especially when you can step up and be a cheerful giver in the Lord.
And I'm thinking about those people had no idea. I mean, we're hundreds of miles away and they don't like us or know us. Like, they had no idea that we had made a mistake and that we were in that situation. But the Lord knew.
Yeah.
And so you never know, like when you have that gut feeling and the Lord tells you to do something, you have no, you may think, well, that's silly, whether it be money or stopping to give somebody a hamburger or just whatever. You have no idea. Mm-hmm. It may seem silly or minute in your eyes, but you never know how the Lord's going to use that to bless somebody else.
That's right.
Absolutely. And you don't know what kind of bind that $100 may have put them in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
right.
And it could have been a sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
So
that moment was a defining moment for us to just let us know that God was just telling us, I got your back.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got your back, and you may have messed this up, but I'm going to bail you out.
And we've seen that, 31 years over and over with whatever it would be.
So one of the things that has resonated with me over the past few years is just that God is faithful. Mm-hmm. And that if nothing else is written on my tombstone, I want that on there. That just said, he knew God was faithful, or God was faithful to him, or something like that.
That's right.
But, I look and you hear things, you talk about God's perfect timing. Just thinking kind of outside the box. If y'all had received that a week earlier, mm-hmm. what would your reaction have been? Would you
knowing us and our 22-year-old selves would have been like, Pizza Hut! Like, or we can go to the movies, or... Yeah. Knowing us, we would have abused the gift.
Well, not abused it. We would have just went out and just had a good time. Yeah. We would have treated ourselves to a good time. For us is going to Olive Garden.
Yeah.
Or, going to some nice dinner. But
you could have spent over $10 at a Taco Bell, which back then, that was a big time.
And here's the thing. When God laid on that couple's heart to send us $100, we hadn't messed up the checkbook ledger yet. Hadn't messed it up yet. And it was just an honest mistake. Didn't subtract right. And as a result, we're in the hole. And yet God had the wheels turning before, the numbers hit zero in the bank account, and we were able to go deposit that $100 real quick and stay in the black and not bounce a check and have to deal with all of that at 22 years old. And it was just been a mess. And it's just something I'll never forget.
But the fact that the timing was what it was perfect. It was that still amazes me just to hear you guys kind of talk through that.
Oh yeah, it's something.
We actually have I don't know how long this lasts, but we have a super, very recent story about God's timing.
I'd love to hear it, and we can go into two parts. You can be our first two-parter episode too.
No, gosh.
No, Chris, Shane's son Chris did one from like 40 minutes or so we're good.
Okay. So we were sharing with you earlier that I had a sabbatical from my job and went to another job and went back, and in between. We were building this house that we're in right now, and we had been through 3 builders, and 2 builders just in the middle of that situation. It didn't work out. The 3rd builder, we're still waiting on his quote.
and y'all been in how many months now?
Yeah, we've been in since October. We're still waiting on
maybe
his
he'll
quote.
get back. Maybe he'll get back to you, and you can just send him a picture of the house. We were just at a standstill, and we're like, well, what are we going to do? Do we just sell the land because it's not going to happen? And I'm being all whiny, and I'm like, well, we're going to fix up this house, and we're going to use the money to do something. And then I was in between jobs, and I had 2 weeks off in between jobs, and my friends asked me to come play pickleball with the church ladies
or don't work outside the home. Yep. And so I went to pickleball, and this lady said, "So how's the build going?" And I said, "It's just not going to happen. We just can't find a builder. It's just, things are not looking good." And she said, "Well, I want you to call this guy that he built a garage for us 20 years ago." But she's like, "I don't have his number, but I have his wife's number. So call his wife." And I thought, well, Derek's never going to call his wife. I mean, that's weird. He's not going to do that.
Because Derek, like you said, he's an introvert.
He's an introvert, number one. He's not going to call a guy's wife. So I get home and I give Derek the message. And he says, "I'm not doing it. We're going to get a quote from this other guy that we're still waiting on."
Is that guy number 3?
Yeah,
okay.
that we're still waiting on. And finally, after me whining a couple of days, he's like, "Okay, fine, I'll call the guy's wife." Oh, I Googled him, and his number didn't come up in Google at all. And I'm like, well, oh well. Or, I called the number on Google, and it was out of service or something. Well, Derek calls the guy's wife's number finally on day 2 or 3 of me whining, leaves a message. And through this whole process, this had been months of working with other builders, no one ever called you back. Even when you're in the depths of the process, you have to keep calling them back to get them to call back. And Derek left a message, and the very next day, the guy called us back. And he said, "Hey, I just wanted you to know my wife died of brain cancer about 6 months ago. And I still have her phone, and I just happened to check the message." And he said,
Wow.
"I just want you to know I'm not really interested in building right now. I need time. I need to heal." And Derek said, "Okay, I get it, and I understand. Sure. I appreciate you calling me back." He said, "But tell me where your land is, and we'll see." And so Derek told him where we're located, and the gentleman was like, "I'm literally 5 minutes down the road, so I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll just look at it, but I'm not looking to start any jobs. I just need time, whatever." So Derek meets him out here, and he says, "I tell you what," and Derek brought our plans out and everything. He said, "Let me go home and pray about it." And we were like, this is the first time anybody's even mentioned, let's pray about,
That's right.
doing this or that.
He could have knocked me over with a feather when he said
So he said, "I will call you by the end of the week and let you know if I want to build your house." And of course, we were going out of town. And of course, we were like, yeah, he ain't going to call back because nobody calls back. I mean, we're still waiting on quote number 3, So we are on vacation, and we're in the mountains of Georgia, and we're sitting in Adirondack chairs. Literally, both of us were asleep with this little stream streaming down the back of our little Airbnb. And Derek's phone rings, and it's the builder. And he said, "I've talked to my daughter and her husband, and I've prayed about it, and the Lord has told me to build your house."
Sure
and
did. And again, you could have knocked me over with a feather.
And it was just really great because we had been through these builders that gave us these Excel spreadsheets and this and this and this. And he said, "Y'all meet me out there when you get back from your vacation, and I'll give you a number." And we met him out here on the land, and he had a folded white sheet of paper, and he handed it to Derek, and he said, "This is what I'll build your house for." And it literally
like an old school job offer across the
it was
table.
literally
Like at a car dealership where he's kind of
exactly.
sliding it back and forth.
He slid it over to him, and it was like, and it just had one number on it. And Derek was like, "Well, man, this will work, but you got to give me a whole lot more of information than this for my bank loan."
Yeah.
And we just built the greatest relationship with him. And
I'll tell you, he is one of the most stand-up, honest, God-fearing men I've ever met. He's a friend, and I would let him build 10 more houses for me. I jokingly say I could leave my wallet with him for a month and he'd never crack it open.
Wow.
He was
just great.
Just a godly man, and I'm a better man for having known him.
And I think that, too, I can't speak for him, but he was here every day. He was only building one house because Remember, he wasn't going to build a house. But he's a very busybody kind of guy, has to be working all the time. Yeah. And he was at our house every day. And we prayed for him. And, just a God thing of the timing that I was between jobs and went to play pickleball of all things. And that's how it all... that's just how it all worked out, And now he's got like 2 or 3 houses going. So he just needed...
Yeah. So what if somebody says? So somebody hears that story, they're like, "Wow, that's a great coincidence, right? Wow, that was such a lucky thing." How do you answer that kind of thing?
For me personally, I don't believe in coincidence.
Right.
When you hear people say, good things happen to good people. The Lord lets the rain fall on the good and the bad folks. I mean, that's scriptural.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in coincidence. I just don't. Is it just a coincidence that this earth spins on its axis at just the right angle, that we rotate around, that the moon rotates around the earth and the earth rotates around the sun at just the right position? There's too many things that have to occur for people to think that God didn't put all this together. The most absurd thing you've ever heard of in your life is a Big Bang theory. Mm-hmm. God spoke and that was the bang, Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm going off on a tangent. Apologize if I am, but
this show is nothing but tangents. We're good.
So, it's I just don't believe in coincidence.
Right.
It's not a coincidence that I happen to be working at a bowling alley when she walks in with a friend who liked to bowl, Jeana didn't bowl, or if you did, it was once every 4 years. And that's just a God thing.
Well, and even your friend, she bowled because her parents bowled.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's right.
Well, and I tell people, I'm like, when we've been praying about something for as many months and as many builders as we have been going through, that sign up there, it says pray, wait, trust, God has a plan. A month before we met our builder, Derek gave me that for my birthday. Just to remind me, it's his timing and his perfect timing, and we had been praying. So no coincidence at all when you have a relationship day to day and talking to God, and the timing of that just works out.
Mm-hmm.
Of me being between jobs, playing pickleball, which is... Ask me how many times I played pickleball since then.
I did see the pickleball rackets out there. I've seen her.
Yeah. So, and that's just a sign. That's a sign of I don't play pickleball. That is in our new house as a reminder of how it all came about.
Wow.
And I'll add to the story a little bit. So, builder number 4, David, that's the gentleman's name who built our house. He was the man the whole time. He wasn't the third alternate. He was the number one guy that God had planned to build this house.
Right.
Yep.
It just took a little time for us to get to David, and God closed door number 1 and door number 2, and never let door number 3 even respond, so that we could get to door number 4 and David. And
the timing for David, because I think had we found David at door number 1 and builder number 1, David couldn't have done it because his wife had just passed or was about to pass. Like the timing for David wasn't right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that again, that's a God. That is not a coincidence.
I agree.
It is absolutely not a coincidence. God.
Yeah.
We live in a microwave world. We want it now. We want it 60 seconds from now, and we want it hot.
Thank you for saying that, Derek.
It's true.
Fine, with your hot dogs.
I microwave hot dogs.
That's okay. That's okay.
I microwave everything.
Derek microwaves everything to the death and back, and
But
again.
but
A microwave society.
yeah.
Yes.
So but the point is, God's timing is the best timing, and we've got to be patient, and we've got to, what does that sign say? We've got to pray, we've got to wait, and we've got to trust, and in God's timing, it'll get done. It'll absolutely get done.
I could not put a bow on talking about this anymore any better than what you just did.
Yep.
It is just thinking about the way that you're marking and remembering those times. That's, in my opinion, what makes it easier for the next moment, because you can literally, like Israel, right? When they had the tributes at Gilgal and the things that were built, they could look back and say, "Hey, God brought us through this." You literally have things in your house that I can look and say, "Hey, God did this in our lives."
Yep.
Yeah.
That.
And just markers so we don't forget, because there will be times in our future that we may have times of doubt, and that's why you got to have those markers, is to remember, no, go back to 1995 when you got that check, go back to, when God provided David, and we got to have markers in our life to remember that.
And those are huge examples, right? And obviously that's why it stood out. So, people may not have that same type of marker, but I think everyone that has a relationship with Christ can look back and say, "This is when God did this in my life."
Yeah.
And I can remember this, and I can
That's
can remember back to my life verse right now, that God is faithful.
Well, and the thing is it's not, those are two huge things, but every day, if we stop and think about that God got us to work safely so that our day wasn't messed up, that God got us home safely, that God got us to sit down at the dinner table with whomever that may be in our life. Those are markers too, There's just,
I think that's something that today's society, we don't do a lot of, is just stopping and looking back and kind of looking at your life and the little things that happen and really analyzing things. Like Derek was saying, everything's a microwave. We want it now.
Yeah.
And we don't take that time to stop and look at it and enjoy.
Well, and along those same lines about the microwave also, and I love Disney, so I'm not ditching on Disney, but we want big and exciting, and even in our church worship, big, exciting, lights and cameras and
Loud.
smoke and loud, and, the Bible's very clear that sometimes you stop and listen to the still small voice, and
right.
God moves. It's funny, as we moved out here and I watched birds. I mean, who knew that could be so enthralling and bring me joy? But God,
We have the same thing. Like, we never looked at birds till we moved to the country.
yes.
Now we have feeders by the windows, and you're like, "Oh, look, it's that little
Yes,
red bird.
exactly.
It's the so-and-so bird."
I mean, I have an app on my phone that I pull out to
Yeah.
listen to the, name the bird.
Yep. I've got that too.
That's
It's crazy.
awesome. See, you don't need big and explosive. But the point of that was we can see God in our everyday lives, even just driving across town or to the grocery store or back home or while we're at our jobs. We don't have to have, everything doesn't have to be a huge story,
Right.
because every day is a story.
You're exactly right.
And when God puts us on pause for a minute, it's sometimes you'll never know why. But the other day I was getting ready to go to work and I forgot the car keys. Well, the car won't crank if you don't get the car with the keys.
Normally
I
it
had to
won't.
come back in for that. Then I realized I forgot my badge at work, which I got thankful I didn't get down the road for that. I had to come back in for that. So it delayed me about 5 minutes. I don't know why I got delayed for 5 minutes that time, or that morning. But it very well could have been that he was keeping me out of an intersection at just the wrong time. I'll never know.
Yeah.
But you know what? I got to work just fine. I got all my work done just fine. I just got there 5 minutes late.
Mm-hmm.
And it may have been an inconvenience, and I'll never know. But I know that God knew, and He delayed me 5 minutes that morning. And you have to wonder. But I'm just going to trust Him and just know that His timing's perfect. And I'm going to share another story.
All right.
So this is one that it was 2002. I wasn't going to graduate from my undergraduate degree until May of 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an opportunity to interview for what I thought was a really good job. And it was a lot better job than what I had at the time. At the time, I was an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
This was a job working at a nuclear power plant as a reactor operator, which I could have easily done the job. I mean, it's, you train a monkey to do a job and he can do the job. Well, same for me. You
Was
can
this
train
literally like the Homer Simpson job, like sitting in the
I
control
don't know
room?
about that. I think it's slightly
I mean,
better
I
than
look
that.
like Homer, but that sounds like the Homer.
It's something
position.
similar. It's nuclear power, nuclear reactor operator.
Excellent.
So I go in, and I mean, I prepared for this interview. I read all about spatial relations and how mechanics work, and I mean, I was ready for the interview. And I go in, and I'm sitting across from 5 people across the table from me for TVA. That's who it was. It was Tennessee Valley
Right.
Authority. So I'm sitting there, and the lead man is right across the table from me. It's just me on my side and 5 people on their side. So I'm talking, I'm answering their questions, and this gentleman has a white legal pad in front of him, and I literally see him write the word excellent in all caps and circle it. And interview could not have gone better.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was over, I shook every person's hand. They thanked me for being there. Sir, we'll be in touch. And Jeana, I don't know if you remember, I came home, I told you, I got it. I'm ready. I've got this, and my golly, this is it. And I had actually fasted 3 days about this. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I did a what my pastor had recommended, a daylight fast, where you just in daylight hours you don't eat, and drink water, whatever. But I didn't eat. And ironically, during that time, I got invited to lunch. I mean,
Of course.
I mean, it always, where somebody else was going to
friends,
pay
yeah.
at a nice restaurant, for work, and
It wasn't Taco Bell or something like that.
no, it was like a Ruby Tuesday. Had to turn it down, because I'm sitting there thinking, I never get invited to that, and then here I'm fasting and get invited to this. But the point is, I fasted about this thing. I had prepared. I had an incredible interview. I saw the man write excellent, circle around. And a month later, I get the letter. Sir, thank you for your interest. We've elected to go in a different position, in a different direction. And I was like, you got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding.
It was devastating to us.
It was. I was absolutely devastated. And, and of course, the question, why, God? Why? Why did we go through that? Well, now I can look back and I can see for the last 21 years of my career, I've had a job that has been so much better than what that was a good job. But God had other plans, and He wanted me to go in a different direction. And at that point, we just had to say, okay, we trust you.
We don't get it.
We trust you. We don't understand this, but we're gonna keep going in the direction He's leading, which is to finish college, and I did. And 3 months later, I got a really good job, and I've never forgotten that one either. I literally don't take for granted where I'm at today because of what God
Close the door.
on, and I mean that's just a God thing.
Well, sometimes God says no.
That's what I was about to say. A lot of people think if they're going to pray, that means that God is going to do that. But the purpose of prayer is to bring us in line with God's plan, not for Him to give us the answer that we want.
That's right.
It's not the genie in a bottle.
That's right.
Make 3 wishes
That's
and go
right.
on and
Exactly.
Sometimes His answer is no.
That's right.
And that's something I don't think we talk about as much. We talk about, God answers my prayer, yes, and it's good, or God's no is a valid answer, and that's okay.
That's right.
And realistically, I probably don't like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, who does?
I never like to be told no.
Mm-mm.
But that's best for me
Yeah.
for whatever reason, and it's
and we may never know that,
And in that situation, now 21 and a half years later, even a year after that occurred, you could look back and you could say, that's why he did it. Well, 21 and a half years later, I can really look back and say, I could still be sitting in that reactor room or, that operations room, running the same thing, pushing the same buttons, doing the same boring job. But as it is, I've had an incredible career. I've met a lot of different people, worked with a lot of different folks on a lot of cool projects, and I've had such a better thing, but I had to wait. I had to be patient, and it was a really neat thing.
That's excellent.
And
I think it's encouraging for you to share that, because we have a lot of people that are out there today and they're not getting the answer they want.
That's right.
But hearing you talk about that and coming through it and seeing God's faithfulness in retrospect, I think it should be an encouragement to us that when we're not seeing the results we want, could be a reason for it.
Well, a wise lady once told me, bloom where you're planted. So until God moves or answers in your direction or shows you something, then right now today, I just give my best to whatever it is where he has me.
That's right.
That's similar to something that our pastor says when I don't know what the next step is, I just do the next right thing.
That's right.
That's all I can do.
Just make the best of, live like he would want you to live in the current situation until he says otherwise.
That's right.
Well, thank y'all so much for opening up and sharing about your story. One last question as we're wrapping up here. This puts everyone on the spot. What would you say right now is a verse of scripture that talks to you the most?
Really, my life verse is in him, through him, and to him are all things. To God be the glory, Romans 11:36. And if you just make everything literally about him, then there you have it. It's all about him. I think about him at work. I think about him at play. I think about him, when I'm deciding what to do on the weekend, whatever.
When you're deciding if you want to go play another round of pickleball, or
because I have to think about my leg hurting and I can't keep up with the ladies, and then that puts me in a bad mood and I can't breathe.
Ironically, that's why I quit playing golf, because number one, it kept costing me more and more, and I just kept getting angrier. It was not a good spiritual thing for me.
It's not a good
spiritual
thing
for me.
I'm like, these people are serious, and I am a desk job, and I cannot breathe. Yes.
How about you, Derek?
I'm trying to find it. Give me just a
Googling is okay. It's funny. So we did a radio show, a local. It's called Breaking Bread with AJ and the Chub Father in Birmingham, right? And that was one of the things that they asked us. And Shane took the bullet for us. He came up first with it, and so I had a minute to think a little bit about it. But I knew where I wanted to go, but I had a chance to at least at the rest of the verse, right?
I'm glad that you have a thing that you ask at the end. One of my other favorite podcasts.
Oh,
you like how I said that, right?
Checks in the mail.
Yeah, they.
I think that's the name of this episode. The checks
Shane,
in the mail,
right?
Checks in the mail and pickleball.
Yeah, that's right.
You say they kind of close at the end, or
yeah, they close at the end, and I probably can't ask the question because it might be plagiarism or something.
There's another one that we found. It's another podcast, and it's all about what 4 songs would you want played at your funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't think I finished telling you guys the story about Claire Cunningham, the lady we saw play, the Celtic lady.
Yeah.
But she was talking about, she was a hardcore rock and roller, has really transformed her life. She's living in Nashville. She just won an award for like Independent Songwriter, Christian Song of the Year.
Wow.
And it's I can't remember. Amanda, do you remember the name of the song? It's something about God. It's not the name of the song that you would expect it to be. I can't Google it. I was about to hang up on Shane there.
Shane, you were about to be off the podcast. Google was coming.
Derek's giving this a lot of thought.
Well,
Derek's quoting the Bible.
I'm literally trying to get to it, and the commercial comes up. This is what you get for using a Bible app on your phone. It's just ridiculous, man.
No room for God. That's the
room for God.
No room for God, or no need for God, or something.
Oh,
wait for the commercial, because I actually want to read this. This is a scripture that I have taped to my computer monitor at work.
Oh, okay.
The commercial is almost over.
Was that it? No need for God. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda, for making the
All right.
appearance.
So it's
yes, thank you
all right,
for being on the podcast with us.
So Derek, what about you?
so for me, it's James chapter 1 verse 5, and so here's what you got to know about me. So I'm just an old country boy, and I mean, God gave me common sense. Okay, that's probably one of the best things I got going for me. I told you earlier, you could train a monkey to do a job, and He's given me the ability to do things that I never would have thought I could do. But here's why. So James chapter 1 verse 5 says, "But if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives to all generously and without reproach, and it will be given to him." And Brian, there have been days, as a senior operations research analyst for the Army, that I've been tasked with things, and I mean, I get this giant task in front of me, and I'm thinking, I ain't got a clue. And I'm looking up, and I'm thinking, okay, God, time for you to bail me out again, And that verse right there, I can't tell you how many times I've been given that impossible task, and 4 hours later, I've got an answer. I've got a deliverable product that's correct. And I mean, I'm like looking around thinking, I didn't come up with that. I didn't know that. I had no clue that was coming that morning. Mm-hmm. But that's my verse. That's my verse.
That's excellent. That
God will provide the wisdom for an old country boy to be able to answer something that's going up way at the high level in the Pentagon. And they have no idea that I didn't know what I was doing when I started that task. But it was, not only was it right, it was spot on, and getting attaboys later on for it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if only you knew, But that's God, man.
So it's funny because right over your left shoulder, I noticed a sign just a few minutes ago, Isaiah 58:11, where God guides, He provides.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
But I'm a big believer in godly wisdom, man. I mean, God provides when you need it, and if you're willing to humble yourself, and He'll provide.
Amen to that.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank y'all again for opening up your home to us and letting us come and hang out. Shane, I'll let you punch us out.
All right. Well, like Brian said, we really appreciate y'all opening up and sharing your stories and telling everything here to everybody on the air. And I just want to remind everybody to check us out and share the podcast. And remember that God loves you and has a plan for you, and He will provide.
That's right.
As the clock chimes.
That's right.
Perfect timing.
That's right.
I was wondering what that was.
Thank you again for joining us for this episode of the Tell Me About Your Jesus podcast. We hope you've been reminded of God's faithfulness. He loves you, has a plan for your life, and is always working around you. We invite you to visit us on our website, tellmeaboutyourjesus.com, and share your story with us. You can also reach us by emailing hosts@tellmeaboutyourjesus.com, or you can interact with us on our social media channels. We'll see you next time.